It seems like just yesterday I was walking down the streets of Brooklyn in a t-shirt, light breeze blowing through my hair, sun setting, felt kind of warm on my face, felt nice. I could smell food of the Italian restaurants and smell the hipsters in their cologne walking by, and I thought, man, this is great. That was yesterday. You wouldn't think so, as I just drove through 2 hours of a snowstorm, rainstorm, and ice storm to get to Albany, New York, where there's very little pinball. Ridiculous. This is Coast to Coast Pinball. It's episode 69. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. It's March 12th, 2014. It's a Wednesday night. My name is Nate Shivers, your host. This is a podcast commentary. I am a man out of quarters, and I'm in Albany, New York. It's literally like I opened the curtains on the hotel room, and I thought, this is weird. I have a frosted glass window. I can't see out. And I realized it was ice stuck to the window. The weather is so bad here. It was literally mid-60s and low 70s all across parts of this region yesterday. And today it's just brutal. It started raining somewhere in like Orange County, New York when I was driving up. And then it started hailing. And then it just started snowing and ice. And the roads got really bad. And at one point, all of us on the freeway were driving like 35 miles per hour. It got ugly. But that's the plight of a traveling salesman. So I told Teresa a little bit ago on the phone, she's in San Diego, obviously, I was going to bed, because I really planned on going to bed. It's late. It's past midnight. It's actually, I think I told you that it was March 12th a second ago. It's March 13th now here on the East Coast of, the United States. Got to keep this international, of course. And I had been sketching out the next show in my head all day long, and tonight I sat down and went through my emails, and I've been really bad I've been really good at checking emails, really bad at responding to emails and clearing them out. I like to keep a tidy inbox, and I responded to a ton of emails tonight, so that got kind of clear. And then I realized I had a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of emails to answer, and I was going to do it tomorrow, or this weekend, or whatever. We just did 2 shows in a row, and I got in bed, sat down, and thought, I'm not really that tired. Showtime, right? So here we are, episode 69 of Coast to Coast Pinball. I didn't plan on going out tonight because the weather's so bad, but I did Google and do some searching in the Albany, New York area, the capital of the state of New York, about pinball, and I found a post on a website called All Over Albany, who asks where to play pinball. Anybody know of a place to play pinball in the capital region? Keeping it simple. And there's tons of responses. People are really thrilled to respond. But what I basically got out of this response is there's not much here. There's a few single machines here and there. It sounds like there's a Monster Bash at a bar. It sounds like there's an Addams Family at another bar. There's a NASCAR at a place called Footsie's, which everyone says to stay away from. People allude to a lot of hobbyists in the region who have collections in their basements. And then they, mention the other places in the kind of the distant region, Rock Fantasy in Middletown, at least an hour away. New York City has places to play. They even talk about Papa and New Hampshire Pinball Wizards. So it doesn't look like Albany is really the hot spot for pinball, unfortunately. So here we are. So we're going to do a show. We're going to talk pinball. And apparently I have insulted some of you. I have some feedback today, especially from some people very upset with me, and we will address that a little bit later. But for now, I want to address something from last night's episode.
Forum static.
All right, I made mention last night of a new rule set, a set of software, so to speak, for No Good Gophers being made, and I wondered out loud if that was P-Rock based or not, and it is not. I went back and did some learning. Did me some learning. Okay, so apparently, and I don't know all the details, and if anybody wants to fill this in, if somebody wants to send me the bullet points on the history of all this, by all means. There's a guy named James. James posts on Pinside, and he has done new code for Demolition Man at some point, and he's 3 months ago posted on Pinside that is complete, and that now he's going to start working on new code for No Good Gophers. And he has a thread going called No Good Gophers, New Rules, New Code. So if you want to go find it, it's there. It's in the all modding subforum of the all pinball subforum in the Pinsides forum. And James basically says, I want to use this thread for comments from beta testers, although they can also use private message or email. Also, this thread can be used for showing of progress in videos, etc. Due to some concerns from Planetary Pinball Supply and discussions with Rick, which made me aware of some things that I was not aware of before, the following guidelines will be taken with this project. And basically, he says there will be no Williams code at all borrowed for his new rules and coding. There will be no Williams logo in the DMD animations because he's going to create, new DMD animations to go with his new coding. And there will be no frames ripped from any original source material, such as the Williams ROM or the Caddyshack movie. So that way he's not treading on any protected intellectual rights or stuff that's not his to use. So he says his goal of the project is several. He wants to make an unfinished game complete. He claims there's no denying that No Good Gophers is not complete. It has 6 balls in the trough, how do you say that, trough? And only 3 multi-ball modes, and they are 2, 3, and 4 ball modes. Why only 9 holes? A lot of things feel unfinished. I can tell you why only 9 holes. Probably because it'd take too long to get to 18. Maybe. That's probably what they were thinking, I'm guessing. I don't know. But I agree with the multi-ball thing, for sure. He wants to also fix annoying bugs. A few bugs that are pretty bad. Sometimes the jackpot shot does not award. Buzz and Bud Gophers stay up when they shouldn't. Game doesn't detect when ramps are out of position. And correct, there are more. And then he also wants to make this game tournament ready. Would like to see the difficulty and scoring be balanced in such a way as people from Papa would go to it readily. By the way, I was also contacted, he writes, by some people who will remain unmentioned about using my code in tournaments. So that's the beginning of his thread, and he wants to document what the current rules are, and then basically start rewriting the game and building off of that. So I haven't read through the whole thread yet, but that's his project, and that was started 3 months ago. So he's diving into it, and he's got lots of people emailing him. People get really into this. I think it probably takes a lot of talent and know-how I wouldn't even know where to start. But basically, he wants to be able to hand you a ROM chip to put into your game that gives you a whole new game out of No Good Gophers. I think that's really cool. I agree that game does have that slightly unfinished, like it needed that one last update to tie it all together. So very cool. So I will look forward to watching James do that. I think as we get these people, I think as we get more people really computer literate to high degrees, especially in programming, you're going to see more of this pop up. Obviously, we've seen Dutch Pinball do some things like that, and they're currently getting ready to release the Bride of Pinbot 2.0 update, which is like a similar sort of project. He has an update. James wrote a day ago. It looks like I scrolled to the bottom of this thread. Update on the code. Fast forward 3 months from what I just read you. I'm at a severe stop until we can decode the AV95 board. I really thought this was already done, but apparently not. I'm finding out that no one has ever used free WPC on a WPC 95 system. So I'm the first. Not scared. I was the first to do a DCS machine too. So I wrote a ton of code, and it all worked in emulation, but when I dumped it on the machine, it will not get past the post. So basically, he's run into a really hard programming thing where he needs to figure out how to, kind of hack into and decode the motherboard, I'm guessing. So he doesn't want to do emulation. He wants to not do PROC where you have to buy an expensive PROC controller. He wants to just hand you a new ROM. So that'll be fun to watch that. It seems like he's pretty driven and really into it. So I wish you the best of luck, sir. So I got a lot of email, and we're going to go through it. I think something about this episode, keeping in mind this is a family show, something about this episode just seems like this should be a show of giving and taking. You give me questions and I answer them. Figure that one out. So let's dive into this, and I'm just going to kind of open these up as we go. Gene X Wong, good friend of the show, Gene X Wong, emailed me. Hey Nate, nice job on the latest podcast. I have installed and played the Metallica 1.5 and love it so far, although I only got in 2 crappy games before I had to leave. So he had me there. I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. And here's where he loses me. Fishtails isn't that bad either. I'm just kidding. But everyone loves different games, but I do enjoy Fishtails. Love that super jackpot and how it works with locking the balls and going for that captive ball. I will take your word for it there, Gene. Thank you for your continuing support and listening. I'm sure Gene and I will cross paths soon enough. Another longtime friend of the show, I think friend of all podcasts, really, right, Joe? Joe Zank has emailed me. He disagrees with me. And you're allowed to disagree with me. You can have commentary too. This is all just my opinion. Tales from the Crypt was not the greatest Data East game, he writes. Maybe bang for the buck, I can agree. He writes, Tommy and GNR are far better games, but Tommy is around $2,500 and GNR is around $5,000 game. Well, let me give you my thoughts on that. I'm a giant fan of The Who. The rock band The Who. I love The Who. I just saw The Who last year. And that's one of my favorite all-time bands. And I thought, I'm going to love Tommy before I ever played a Tommy. I don't love Tommy. I've never connected with Tommy. I feel like I pass up playing Tommy every time I see it at Pinball Wizard Arcade. I don't know why. People love that game. There are people who love that game. I am just so much more into Tales from the Crypt than Tommy. I will look at Tommy again. However, GNR, I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to make another claim. Yesterday I claimed Tales from the Crypt, greatest Data East game ever. I'll make another claim and just say it. I'm going to have an opinion. Guns N' Roses is the most overvalued game in history. I get it. It's Guns N' Roses. I loved Guns N' Roses growing up. I get it. It's one of the best Data East games. I do understand that. However, that game is not fun to play to me. It's a top 50 game. It's ranked number 34 on the Pinside Top 100. Not a million of them made. 3,000 of them made. It's a wide body Data East game. A lot of people will say it's the best music theme pin ever made. I don't agree with that at all. Not even close. Metallica and AC/DC are just way better games. It's solid. It has pretty good modes. There's 2 ramps that are okay. I don't know. Why? Somebody tell me why I don't like Guns N' Roses. Because I love the band. I love the music. I don't love the artwork on that game. It's sort of crude to me. It doesn't really... I don't know. I don't like the video mode. The music isn't diverse enough on that game. It's really repetitive. The upper flipper doesn't seem like it does a lot. I don't know. I have just... Oh, man. I don't know. I will take your word that you like it better. I think the scoring's weird on that game, if I remember. I haven't played a lot of Guns N' Roses recently. I had a time period where I did go and play Guns N' Roses a lot because it was like, oh, that's, a game I really love because of the theme. I got to play this game. And I would just play it and not like it. I don't like the way it flows. I don't like the shots. I don't... It's dark. I don't like the colors in the game. Why don't I like Guns N' Roses? I don't know. It's kind of slower paced. So I hear you, Joe, but I disagree. I'm going to still say Tales of the Crypt over Guns N' Roses, but I do appreciate the email. All right, Daniel wrote me. Hey Nate, just listened to the episode. I just picked up my Tales from the Crypt for $2,100 in my area. I know of 2 others for sale in the Bay Area for $2,200. Mine has some issues I need to fix, but it's in good shape for the most part. Funny, I never noticed the music at the end of Circus Voltaire. What music at the end of Circus Voltaire? The bad, really horrible, annoying music at Circus Voltaire that I can't stand, Daniel? That music? That music? And he continues, it is pretty lame now that I'm noticing it. Funny what annoys different people. As I said before, that hurry-up music in Jurassic Park is beyond effing annoying. Also, that 20 million call-out in Whitewater drives me nuts. I used to purposely avoid the video mode shot when I had my Johnny Mnemonic. I found it to be so lame. Cheers. That's a great email. That's a fantastic email. I want a Tales from the Crypt, even if I have to go to San Francisco and drive it home. I might do that. I very much want that. I listened back to my podcast. I never listen to these podcasts, by the way. I do them. I check them to make sure they sound right. I hate listening back, but today I was really bored driving, and I had listened to so many other podcasts and listened to music, and I put my show on just to kind of hear it, and listening to myself talk about Tales from the Crypt made me want to play Tales from the Crypt, so I don't know, that's sort of silly. Thank you very much, Daniel, for the email. Dan. His name's Dan. It says Daniel in the email thing. Daniel, sorry. I don't know what you totally go by. Let's see here. Damien. Just came across this Pittsburgh Craigslist ad. I'm in Cleveland. Sorry about that. I'm just kidding. And Skylab is a beautiful EM. I can see why you wanted one in your collection. Great back glass. And he gave me a link to a Pittsburgh area Craigslist. Man, I should have like a segment of the show that talks about like games for sale in your area. We should do that sometime.
What's for sale in your area?
Oh, yeah, we do have that. So anyway, on the Pittsburgh Craigslist right now, if you search pinball machine, you will find a Skylab, much like mine. I think that the playfield, about the same as mine. Wear above the center double bonus insert, just like mine has. Looks about the same, though. Really nice shape. Back glass looks perfect. I don't have pictures of the sides, but that's okay. Really nice shape. Mine might be a little cleaner up top. But $400, which is exactly what I paid. So, and he says $400 or best offer in a week. You must be able to pick up and take it. It's at the bottom of exterior basement steps, and I will assist you to carry it. That's actually not hard. You can pull the head off that game super easy, off an EM. So anyway, he says he turned it on. It works. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area and you want a pretty cool EM Skylab, you should jump on that. Let's see. All right, back to the email. I had highlighted some emails to read here. From Noah. Noah wrote me this. When did he write this? I'm so far behind on emails. Some of these are a little old. Hi, Nate. So I enjoyed episode 65 of your podcast today, and I have some feedback for you about the episode. You were certainly right about Whitewater being an abrupt change of theme in 1993. The month right before it, Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D was released, and that was one crazy machine. I can agree with you about how 93 didn't really flow in game themes. Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends is definitely a great, affordable, and underrated machine. I wish there was one around Boston to play. There isn't one around Boston, is there? Is there one in Maine? I feel like there's one out there somewhere. Oh, there's one in... I know where there's one. It's in like the Vestal, New York area. I loved how you actually went into detail about Street Fighter 2. Most people simply dismiss it for the terrible backglass artwork. Look at Chun-Li, you'll get nightmares. But your description of the games made it a must-play for me. The spinning flipper and the corkscrew sound like great ideas. Bram Stoker's Dracula, I haven't played it as much. I can't really provide any feedback, but good job deviating from the crowd on what your opinion of the game was. You know, that's what I'm here for, Noah. I'm here to be the contrarian. That's what I do. No, I'm just kidding. Twilight Zone, is there anything else to say? Not really. Love it. It's also nice to see someone who likes the Jurassic Pin as much as me. I'm betting with the 2014 ROM is released. Yeah, there's a new ROM for Jurassic Park coming out. That's right. It's going to ricochet up in the ratings like you predicted. Yeah, I think so. I'm a huge fan. Jurassic Park is like classic to me. That's a classic pinball machine to me. Not my favorite. Tales from the Crypt is my favorite Data East and second favorite of the year. But Jurassic Park to me is probably one that I would predict more people would like. And then Noah gave me a great rundown of some other locations in the Boston area that have a game or two at least to go check out. So I really appreciate that. I do want to go check that out. I've noticed in the New England area there are a few arcades in the beach towns that are not open at this time of year because it's cold. So I look forward to this summer, hopefully on some work trips, having some free weekends and some free evenings to get out to some of those cool arcades. All right, friend of the show, Shane from Australia. He wrote me a while back about the Melbourne Food Works. And he did a trip report of the Melbourne. I keep saying Melbourne wrong. Melbourne. There we go. I've been harassed by the friendly Australian listeners. Australia, by the way, is the country with the second most Coast-to-Coast Pinball episode downloads in the world. Shane wrote, I should have known before I decided to check these tables out to not expect a lot. After all, the Melbourne Pinball Finder map lists the two tables, Shaq and World Cup 94, as not the best. I only realized how not the best they'd be when I saw the machines from a distance. From the location outside. First of all, Melbourne looks a lot like Phoenix, Arizona to me. Or maybe Southern California in a way. I think that's kind of fun. I'm just looking at these pictures. It's like a 7-Eleven type store that has pinball machines literally out on the sidewalk and a couple arcade games. They're on the sidewalk, and they have a Shack Attack and, like you said, a World Cup Soccer. And I will repeat this, out on the sidewalk. Just out there, and they look awfully up. You know, Shack Attack, there's a game I've never played. Never have played a Shack Attack. So I'm guessing at either the Texas Pinball Festival coming up or the Midwest Gaming Classic coming up, I might get to play a Shack Attack. Yeah, that World Cup Soccer that's too bad. Shane ended up at the end of his photos, sent me a great picture of his Star Trek, and I believe he's wearing a Coast to Coast Pinball t-shirt, so that's fantastic. Needless to say, the machines were in far below average condition. Didn't sting as much to see Shaq in such a shape, but World Cup, soul-crushing. Or still, the World Cup was the one that wasn't playing at all. Ball search was all it was capable of. I struggled through one credit on Shaq, which was made even more difficult with both games being set to 5-ball. Yeah. Worn out, rusty side rails. The machines look like it sat outside for decades. Well, it is outside. Did they leave that outside? Shane, tell me, do those games just stay outside? But that's not the clincher. Oh no, what made these machines truly unique, as if they weren't already, was the unique placards placed on the top of the aprons of each game. Not advertising the distributor, but one that has some overly long Bible verse and another that simply says, Jesus saves. Personally, I think Jesus death saves would have been funnier. See, that's funny. Jesus death saves put right below, like, you know, the flippers. I think that's very amusing. Shane has jokes. That's good stuff, Shane. Anyway, enjoy the photos. Hope I've managed to capture just how craptacular the whole setup is. It's pretty bad. That's bleak, man. So sorry to that World Cup Soccer. I mean, that's really too bad. Also, I have an email here that I will go over from listener of the show, Ben. Ben's from Finland. And I had mentioned Finland somehow on the show or something. Anyway, I'm part Finnish. My great-grandmother was, like, Finnish, like, spoke Finn, and creeped me out when I was a little kid because it's a different-sounding language than what I was used to hearing at, like, 7 years old. So Ben said, I promised to write to you about the pinball scene in Finland, so here it is. An overly long mail with the story of how I got involved in pinball and my take on the pinball situation in Finland. I won't read this whole email because it would run into episode 70, I'm afraid. But what I will say, the takeaway is, there's not a lot of people in Finland. He talks about the size of the cities, and they're just not that big. He says the sixth largest city in Finland is where he lives close to, which is called Turku. And there's 180,000 people there. There's a couple universities, and you would hope that there'd be a lot of pinball. But he said there's really not a whole bunch. There's 3 machines in one little collection that has Scared Stiff, Star Trek The Next Generation, and Twilight Zone, so that's pretty good. There's some operators in Finland. You might happen to see a game here and there in a bar, but a lot of it has just died off, and it's still not going on out. It's kind of like here, you just don't see them on location like you used to. He said there's 2 public pinball arcades in the country of Finland. One is called the Extra Ball Arcade, and that is in, I believe, Helsinki. Yep, in Helsinki, in the capital. And it is is located in a classics car showroom and cafe. The arcade is maintained by, I'm going to butcher these names. Oh my gosh, Antti, Peltonen, who is an avid pinball collector, player, and an all-around pinball expert. You can find an interview with him in English if you scroll down on the Extra Ball Facebook page. So I will do that and check that out for sure. The other arcade in Finland is called the Hopeakula? I don't even know how they would say that. Or, in English, Silverball. It is maintained by a pinball club in the city of Kouvola. Kouvola? The main force behind the arcade and the club is Ari. Won't even try that last name. There's lots of dots over lots of letters. Who, besides being a collector and one of the top Finnish pinball players, also maintains a very comprehensive site on pinball repairs in Finnish. Ari also writes in English about pinball in general and reports from tournaments on his Google Plus page, which I'm just going to go ahead and, if you're really interested in reading about Ari's pinball exploits that he writes about in English but in Finland, let me know and I will forward that Google Plus link. I think if you probably did some Googling of the name Ari, A-R-I, and pinball in Finland, you might find it. But his last name, real quick, is Sovijarvi. So, while it's almost impossible to just happen to find a pinball machine in operation in Finland, the hobby is alive and well. We have a number of avid collectors with fantastic pinball collections, which they've opened up to the public every now and then. I believe the largest collection has over 50 games, but there might be even larger collections. We have an official Stern distributor, a man named Aika. When you put two I's in the front of a name, I just get really confused. Man, sorry, I'm not ripping on your language. It's just, it looks crazy to me. Iikka, Ika. Who is also a collector, league player, and refurbisher and reseller of old pinball games. And he has a website. And we have an active Finnish pinball forum, which is at Flipperit, so flipperit.net, flipperit.net. And we have the Finnish Pinball League. So it sounds like there's a lot going on with pinball, but it's not really location pinball in Finland. And Ben gave me a great story of how he kind of got into it and sort of his story with the arcades. And I really appreciate that. I love this stuff. I read these. I replied finally to his email. I'm a little slow on these right now. But Ben, thank you. Great story. Great information. It's nice to get a global outlook here on Coast to Coast Pinball on what's happening out and around the world. So that is good stuff. All right, moving through my email some more, getting down to the nitty-gritty here. All right. Another Daniel, also from Melbourne, Australia. Hi, Nate. I've just discovered your podcast after it was mentioned in the Aussie Pinheads podcast, and I think it's great. Well, I didn't realize I was mentioned in their podcast. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. It flows better than a Steve Ritchie game. I don't know about that. The best thing is there's almost 70 episodes for me to catch up on. I've listened to the more recent ones, jumped back to episode 50 to listen to your Twilight Zone rave, and now decided to start from episode 1 and work my way through sequentially. I have just bought a Twilight Zone in the last week, that rules, to add to my Indiana Jones. So I have enjoyed hearing of your love for that game. I concur. It's fantastic that Teresa holds the high score on your machine. At least she did at episode 3. Yeah, about that. Teresa, I don't know if you're listening to this. I know you're at home and I'm not there. The switch to Twilight Zone is on the bottom of the game. If you look underneath the game, there's a little toggle switch. Feel free to turn that on. Press the start button and get to work, because her initials haven't been on that game in months. I pushed her off, as we will say. That's kind of funny. I forgot she did have the high score at first. He gave me a topic idea for the podcast that I'm not going to read you because I liked it. I'm going to steal it and use it, and you'll never know that Daniel in Australia was the one that suggested it. Or maybe you will. But for right now, I don't want to bring it up because it's like a tease. But just know that he had a great idea. And he told me a story about one part of this idea that I had never even heard, so I'll have to look into that. He asked me about Indiana Jones and whether I thought if it's on the way down. It used to be ranked similarly, I think, but is now out of the top 10 on Pinside. Not that I care, but it's definitely my favorite. Just pipping Twilight Zone. Pipping must be like just being ahead of, I guess, in Australian slang or vernacular. So I think I just talked about Indiana Jones a couple episodes ago, so in like 3 or 4 months, Daniel will get to that. Yeah, it has slipped a little bit. I I think I said recently that I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones fan. Now, that being said, I have this habit with Indiana Jones and other games that I'm not good at to sort of shy away from them. And I did this with Whitewater at first. When I first started seeing Whitewater out a lot, I wasn't good at it. I didn't know the rules, and shots didn't feel right to me. So I just kind of would say, I don't really like that game, or I would just not play it and avoid it. Indiana Jones has kind of been like that for me. I really need to give that game more of a fair shake. I was looking at it at Sunshine Laundry the other day, and I didn't play it. I need to bite the bullet on Indiana Jones and really dive in, because that was built at such a great time period. And I don't know the inner workings of Indiana Jones. Do you want to know what's sad? I don't even know, honestly, off the top of my head. I'm looking it up as I type this so I can have an answer as I tell you the silliness that I don't know this. I should know this, right? I don't even know who designed that game. I mean, I have a feeling... Oh, I do know. It's Mark Ritchie. We talked about it on the game. So, yeah. I think the fact that Daniel has Indiana Jones and Twilight Zone, that tells me that he has good taste in games, obviously, because they're, wide-body Williams from a great time period. So, anyway, thanks very much for the email. I'm glad you found the podcast. If you're posting in other pinball forums around the world, or in video game forums, or, whatever, and you want to drop a little plug of Coast to Coast just to throw some listeners out here, that would be awesome. That's always helpful, and that's kind of just general thing. I appreciate that. So thank you very much. I'm glad that somebody did that, and that's how you found us. So that's good stuff. Let's see. I think we're there. I think we have most of the ones that I had deemed for the show read now, and I've replied to just about everything. That's awesome. I had planned on that taking a little bit longer, so what we need to do here in episode 69 is this.
Random number generator game reviews.
Oh, heck yeah, random number generator game reviews. We're doing this on the fly. I don't even have the website up to pull my random number generator thing, because we're doing this more like live style. Random number generator. Here we go. So, if you haven't heard Random Number Generator game reviews before, I simply go to random.org, I type in 1 through however many games are currently on the pin side, top, 100, 200, 300. So let's go to pin side, top 100, scroll to the bottom. Right now, just for a little FYI, the number 100 rated game is Space Station. And right ahead of it, kind of funny, 99 is Apollo 13. Have you seen Gravity? Man, Teresa and I went and saw Gravity in 3D finally, and it was awesome. All right, side note while I'm scrolling through all these games. All right, we are up to 290 games currently ranked. So I got 1 through 290, and we're going to hit generate. We're going to pull up a random number, and I'm going to go to the Pinside Top 100, and whatever game it is, no matter what, I'm going to talk about it. And hopefully I know something about it. Otherwise, we're going to learn about it together, and it probably won't be great radio. Hitting the button now. 83. 83. All right, so I got to go back to the top 100. Scroll down to 83. 83. Number 83 on the Pinside Top 100 is currently the 2004 Stern release. Your favorite and mine. Elvis Pinball. All right, so I know I've talked about Elvis before on this show, and I don't have a lot of kind things to say about Elvis as it stands, as it looks when you walk up to Elvis. The game is pink. It's really pink. Like, I don't know how to say it any other way. They used so much pink on this game. It drives me crazy. I don't particularly love the song selection on Elvis Pinball. They use some of the more cheesy games. The game gets much higher reviews and ratings than I would have ever expected. I don't believe it was a large run at all. The game is designed by Steve Ritchie. So you would think that a game designed by Steve Ritchie would just be like, on some level, awesome. I don't think on many levels... Okay, all right, let me say this. There's a lot going on. there's lots of ramps. It's sort of a modified fan layout with, orbits and ramps and then stuff up the middle. It's just so freaking pink. You've got the pictures of Elvis in the middle, the gold record, 1 through 10. This is that era of Stern where they were cutting corners and costs to just try and stay alive. Now, that being said, there's actually drop targets in the game on the left side. I'm trying to find a playfield picture. Yeah, drop targets on the left side. So that's cool. They actually have real drop targets in there. The whole hotel thing up top is pretty gimmicky, and this is a game that can get into sort of disrepair I've seen a couple of these out in the wild before. I believe the one that I'm thinking of right now is at the Pinball Hall of Fame, maybe, in Las Vegas. And it just got... If it's not well kept, things don't feel smooth and don't play right. Not a game I love. Let's see how this rating... I'm always surprised to see this game that it's ranked so high. Blows me away a little bit. So if we scroll down to the bottom on the rankings page for Elvis, back when it was released in 2004, it was like top 20. It was a new game. Everyone that got it ranked it really high, and that was the early days of Pinside, so those ratings aren't super important. And you saw the gradual decline. So by middle of 2007, the game had dropped into the 30s, dropped into the 50s by 2009, in the 60s by May of 2010, 70s, 80s, all the way down into the 90s last year. This game was ranked 91 at one point, and now it's climbed back up a little bit to 83. So, also, when you go and look at the rating history had this big, giant, steady decline and has really flattened out. I wish I had more to tell you about Elvis Pinball and the playing of it. It's such an atrocity looks-wise to me that I was never able to really spend a lot of time with it when I was around one. They also did a limited run, like a gold edition. Is that what it was called? Yeah, a gold limited edition of this. And it was one of, it really was a precursor to a lot of the limited editions. I think they built 500 of them. It had gold trim and, brass-plated, like, playfield ramps and side rails, lockdown bar and all that. It's not Heartbreak Hotel up top. The upper playfield is like a clear playfield, which is actually pretty cool. What is it? It's not... Man, see, this is the problem with random number game. Oh, it's the Graceland Mansion. So there's the mansion on the right. That's what it is. And you have to shoot the flipper into the Graceland Mansion shot. It's okay. There's a dancing Elvis toy that shakes around a little bit. Hound dogs. You hit a hound dog. They're like the jumper creeper guys, leaper creepers, I think. Aren't they? Or maybe they're just a target. When I look at the picture, it seems like they should pop up. Not a game I relate to. I actually like a lot of Elvis music. It's not that I'm not an Elvis fan per se, but this just has the cheese factor really dialed up. Now, that being said, if you ask me Elvis or Rolling Stones, I'm going to take Elvis every single day, because at least this is sort of that... There is that Steve Ritchie vibe on some levels with, the ramps looping around. I can't remember if there's a diverter at the top of it or not. Does anybody listening to my show own an Elvis? I would be shocked. I'd love to hear from you if you own an Elvis. In fact, I would bring you onto the show to tell me why you own an Elvis. It's a tough one. I'm actually looking at a photo of an Elvis next to a No Fear in somebody's house, which I think is hilarious, because those are about as opposite as you can get. Wish they hadn't done I wish they'd done like the dark black backgrounds and like the re-emergence of Elvis in the jumpsuit and not the black leather jacket, like beefcake looking Elvis, and there's a bunch of Elvises all over the playfield, but not really my scene. I get what they were going for. The game feels sort of cheaply made. Just because we did this, next time I see one, I will absolutely stop and play it. There's one in the Jersey Shore, I believe. I think there's one Silver Ball Museum. So I will get on Elvis next time and try and reaffirm some of my thoughts. But there is your random number generator game review. Alright, at the beginning of the show, I told you I had offended some people. Let's talk about that. And I'm going to do this in conjunction with a Pinside forum post. So just know that this is also sort of forum static-y. And I'm not going to play the forum static-y thing again. So, but anyway, so the post that got me thinking about this morning, before I got the hate mail from a couple people, is called 5-ball. Why does it exist, and does anyone use it? And to me, I answer that very simple. Because people like to cheat, and people are cheaters. I'm just kidding. So I like to say that 5-ball is cheating. It is. It's a fun thing I say. I actually tease a friend who has all his games set on 5 balls. Like, oh, we're cheating today. Every time I play them. So 5-ball. And why does it exist? Well, if we go in the Wayback Machine, and I'm not talking Rocky and Bullwinkle here. I'm talking the Wayback Time Machine, and we look at classic pinball, pinball of the 50s, 60s, and the 70s. Pinball was 5-ball. It just was. Those old EM games have shorter ball times. Nickels and dimes were the original coins you're using to play pinballs. They were worth a lot of money at that time period, and 5-ball was just how those games are designed. A lot of those games have separate scoring for 3-ball versus 5-ball, but 5-ball was kind of the industry standard in arcades. And if you go and read through this forum, you read from a lot of posts from guys who've been around long enough and played enough pinball in arcades to say that when the industry moved from 5-ball to 3-ball, people felt cheated. Because oftentimes they would see games set on 3-ball and they would just avoid them because they felt they weren't getting their money's worth. What I would point out to them is that happened at a time period where the coin mechs on these games only could take quarters. There are no dollar changers on pinball machines. And they weren't thinking to do 50 cents yet. So you had operators looking to, make more money because their costs were going up, their rent was going up, their electricity was going up, their wages to their employees were going up, game prices were going up, so they needed to make more money. You couldn't just charge a nickel, a dime, or a quarter forever. So instead of upping the price, doubling the price, they decreased the number of balls, thus shortening game times, thus increasing how many people could play, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Economics. Then games did go to 50 cents, and it wasn't like they went to 50 cents and everybody said, oh, we'll go back to 5-ball now. They stayed on 3-ball. So people felt bothered by that. And there's this time period of games where I think a lot of those games probably, to the average player, and that's you and me, the average player, it's a better experience on 5-ball. I think about games like Medusa, a game like that. I like that game on 5-ball. Or as I would say, I like to cheat on that game. No, I'm just kidding. EM games just feel right on 5-ball. They do. My Skylab is set on 5-ball. That's just where it's going to be. Modern games, however, as we got to the 3-ball standard with modern games, and you got into solid-state games and the rise of the Bally Williams big corporation, the games are sort of designed for 3-ball. And when you look at competitive pinball, it's always done on 3-ball. And the majority of games now you find in the wild will be set to 3-ball. Occasionally, there are games set on 5-ball. The Silver Ball Museum in New Jersey, everything's set on 5-ball that can be set on 5-ball. I have something in me. I grew up, remember, my first experience playing pinball was Terminator 2. So that's where I come from. 3 balls is just what I grew up on, and that's what felt right. And I feel like when I go to 5-ball, if I have my greatest game ever on my first 2 balls, let's say, I'm going to get to that 4th ball and feel like it's not legitimate, like it's not real. That's too bad. Now, do I really hold it against anybody who puts their games on 5-ball at home? Maybe you have kids, or maybe you're trying to appease the wife, or whatever it is, and you want people to see more of the game. No, I think that's fine. I would rather see you set the game up to play easier. Move the in lanes in a little bit, make things easier to get with shot amounts, that sort of thing. But I totally understand if you want to put your machine on 5-ball. I don't really hold it against you. You're cheating, and you're a cheater, but that's okay. So anyway, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I wanted to address that because I did have some pretty funny emails about that I won't read. That's all. done. Episode 69's in the book. I'm cold because I had to turn the heat off to do this. I don't know if you guys heard that a second ago. The heater just like popped on in this room and it was loud. So I'm going to go now and then I'll go to sleep. Tomorrow night, I have a busy day tomorrow and I have dinner with a client tomorrow night. But I'm staying in a little town called New York City, New York. And there's pinball in New York City and it's open late. So if I'm up to it and feeling good, I'm going to go play some pinball and we'll talk about that when we get to episode 70. So thank you guys for the support. I appreciate it. Coming soon, Texas Pinball Festival. That's happening in a couple weeks, like 2 weeks from Friday, right? Yes, 2 weeks from Friday. I will be there. If you're going to be there, I'd like to meet you. I'll have t-shirts for sale there. Going to enter all the tournaments. Going to see what I can do. I'll be there Friday, Saturday. I'm leaving early Sunday. So if I happen to qualify for the Texas State Championship, which I believe is the one with the finals on Sunday, I don't know what I'm going to do. Might miss my flight, right? And then the Midwest Gaming Classic. I have my travel plans mostly booked for that, and that's a couple weeks after Texas. So a lot of really good stuff coming on, and I hope to get some good interviews and audio from all these shows. I think it's going to be a really fun rest of the year in pinball. I'm really enjoying doing this show. I really enjoy you listening. I like the emails. I like the comments on Facebook, reposts on Twitter. So much fun. So until then, if you'd like to get a hold of me, it's coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. It's coast, the number 2, coastpinball@gmail.com. Our website is www.coast2coastpinball.com. Twitter, we're at C2C Pinball. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Coast2Coast Pinball, maybe, I think. I don't even know. We got a thread going on Pinside with all these episodes there. And, man, I'll talk to you guys soon. Now listen to me right here. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, he used all the Tales from the Crypt music on this episode, but not last episode where he actually talked about the game. Why did he do that? And now he's playing the Crypt Jam at the end of the show, but not from last show when he actually talked about the game. Listen, I forgot. I was tired. I forgot I had all this, but I do. So enjoy it now. Please? Because he's not a cheater.